Well, hey, Derek, what's new this week?
What the hell is that? Oh, I don't know, Matt. What is new this week? Like, what's that? So, oh yeah, that was completely off the cuff.
So nothing then.
No, nothing at all. What the hell?
I wanted to lead in better, but whatever. We'll just whatever. Who cares? So anyway, I was going to share May 11th some wrestling birthdays.
Oh, okay, yeah, okay. So, yeah, I had a daughter on May 11th. So, I know. Whose birthday does she share it with? Oh, wait,
So
you know what? We'll say this. Okay? You read whoever she. This is like her attitude, who she's going to be like. I don't know now. I don't know any bird. So give me the first one.
I don't know how to. There's no way these ones. None of them have like personality like that. Like I can.
As a father
Okay,
of
hold on.
as a father of a daughter, I'm fine with that.
All right. So for the first one,
Just don't say Sunny.
no. The first one, if her first word is lucha, it would apply because that she shares a birthday with Lindsay Dorado.
Okay. Who has crazy hair now?
That was Grand Metalik.
Oh, was it? Oh yeah, no, Lindsay. Yeah. Lindsay is like the cat one, right?
Yes. We're
All
off
right.
to
Well,
a great start.
Lindsay's small like a cat. Yeah. All
The
right. Who's
next one up, I put down was Daisy Hayes.
Daisy Hayes? Oh, is that from ROH?
Yes, that is
Like,
correct.
what was that? Uh,
Wasn't that the, like Special K?
yeah, yes, Special K, the boys or whatever.
Okay, well that's not a good comparison. So uh, the next one, I think you'll pop for. May 11th is Billy Kidman's birthday.
Okay, yeah, okay, that's decent.
And the last recognizable one, well, a little bit before our time, but was Mark Rollerball Rocco, known for his feud with the Dynamite Kid.
Okay, yeah, I don't really know anything about Mark Rollerball Rocco or whatever, but okay.
World of Sport. World of Sport.
Okay, yeah,
And
oh.
that's really it. These are really eventful names on this list. Billy Kidman, I would say, would be the biggest.
I know you should have built it up like a main event. You took to put the jobber in last so that no one knows. I would have put Lindsay Dorado or Billy Kidman in last.
Those guys were never the main event.
Well,
Ever.
neither was this rollerball. I don't know.
unless unless you count Kidman's feud with Hogan.
You know what you should have seen was any notable things that happened in wrestling on May 11th.
Oh.
Yeah, that's
This
usually
segment's
enough.
taken.
On with the show.
Ding ding.
And welcome back to another episode of the Three Falls Pod. I'm Derek, joined as always by Mr. Matt Pepper. Matt, how are you doing?
Well, pretty tired, Derek. That was a lot of wrestling this past week to watch. That's a lot of essential work for me too. But you know what? I'm feeling great.
Well, that's good
Yeah.
because there's lots to talk about. It's been an eventful week in wrestling this week, and we have no shortage, so we better just get underway. Obviously, I would say the big news of the week has been the pregnancy of Becky Lynch. On Monday Night Raw, she was forced to drop. I don't know if she was forced, but I mean, she could have held the title, whatever, for like 2 years, but she dropped the title. Um, she dropped it to have a fabulous Moolah run. She dropped the title to Asuka, who won at Money in the Bank, which we will talk more about later on. Um, and she announced that she was pregnant. So, I mean, congratulations to her and Seth Rollins. I myself know how exciting it is to be a parent and have the anticipation of a baby coming and all that. It's much more exciting than you know waiting for a pay per view nowadays. But I don't want to talk necessarily about her being pregnant or whatever. What I want to really look at is I got a couple questions for you, and the first one is, how do you think fans will react when or if she comes back? Do you think that she will be on that main event level? Like, you know how they treat Trish Stratus when she comes back as kind of like a Hall of Famer? Do you think Becky Lynch will be like that, where she maybe makes an appearance from time to time? Or do you think that she will come back as a regular competitor?
I would gather she'll come back for another run. Um, she's 33 years old, so and who knows what the landscape of the business is going to look like. Are with the live event business kind of in shambles right now, are they going to be running full schedules when she comes back anyway? They probably would be by then, but is it going to be like it was before? Is it going to be 250 days a year? My guess is she will come back. They're already making merch for her during her leave. The not the worst thing in the world for her to get her face to rest, because it's going to give the opportunity for some other people to get in those top spots, and it's fresh matchups when she returns. I have a hard time believing that she's gonna pack it in. There's a lot of money left on the table, especially if they ever do that horsewomen match, because I think that's where the big money is. So, I mean, full time, part time, I don't think it really matters. She's gonna make a lot of money in this business still.
So you actually brought up a good point, or I don't know whether it was intentional or not, and it actually brings me to my next question. Who do you think is going to step up and take the place that she is leaving there as the main event in the women's division? The main face, I should say.
Well, it looks like they turned Asuka, um, which she should be a babyface anyway. She gets cheered as a heel, as a babyface, and she's probably, I don't know how you measure over in this era, but she's been one of the most entertaining people on TV during this whole no crowd era. So my guess is Asuka's going to be the top baby face, but it's going to be a showdown with her and Shayna Baszler at some point. So Shayna Baszler may be the one to take over the top spot. Even though Becky's not a heel, Shayna might be the top dog on that brand before too long.
Asuka has really stepped up, like in this Corona era of wrestling, especially in WWE anyway, where they have the empty arena. Asuka has been like a shining star. Even before that, when she was doing like commentary, a lot of she's entertaining, and you don't even know what she's saying, which it goes against anything Vince McMahon ever. He doesn't want to push anyone that doesn't really know English. I mean, she knows it, she can speak it, but I'm saying that she's just so entertaining. She really reminds me of Tajiri in 2001 when he was teaming with William Regal, where it's basically the same gimmick, where he's talking, he's kind of wacky, and he even has a miss. They both have the miss, so it's very similar to that. But I really think that's a good point of Asuka stepping up and being that protagonist, and definitely Shayna Baszler being the antagonist, especially with her comments that she made this week on Raw.
Absolutely. Yep, she had the promo of the night by far. That is a heel promo that's missing from wrestling. You take something that's real and you you put it into your storyline, your persona, and you get heat with it. That was perfect.
And
But
the funny part of that is that, like, just to be, a lot of people were thinking that or are thinking that about Becky Lynch, and I kind of didn't want to touch on that, go there, because it is what a lot of people think, especially in the wrestling mentality, where wrestling comes first before everything. And even when it comes to like someone getting pregnant and being happy that that person's creating a life of their own, like, there's that mentality in the business that in a way it's kind of sick that they believe, like, well, first thing in their thought in their head is, oh, she's dropping the title, or she's giving away her spot, she's throwing it away, just to have a kid, just to have a baby or whatever. But I don't know. I just think it's just the mentality of the wrestling. Now, what I really want to go is, we were talking about Asuka. She did win the women's Money in the Bank match, which went on at the same time as the men's Money in the Bank match. It was quite the match where they started at the bottom of Titan Tower and worked their way up to the roof. Now, it's definitely not your typical match. I just want to get your thoughts on that and what you thought about that.
well, let me preface this. I watched it twice just to make sure I got everything on it.
Okay, so what I want to do is I want to do more of like a pros and cons to this.
Yeah.
Okay, because there's a lot to talk about. There's a lot to dissect here. Right now, I want to get your pros. I want to hear the good before the bad.
The concept of the match, I felt did have some intrigue going into it. I think the pros, there's certain people that shine in that character like environment. Right off the bat, you can see like AJ Styles walking in, he's cocky, he's time to win Money in the Bank, and Otis walking in and he's thrusting the air and grunting and being the Otis that we all know on TV. I think the pros there, Asuka's another one. The character part of it shine pretty high on it.
I feel like this would have been a fantastic match if I was 14 years old. Because,
yeah,
like, I feel like younger me, and this is not a jab at WWE by any chance, but I feel like the younger me would have really dug this and thought it was unique and cool. Especially, like, you see the different layouts of, like, the areas in the building. Like, it wasn't your typical office building where it, it's boring. Like, I gotta give it, that was one of the cool parts for me, was seeing how everything is laid out and all the cool memorabilia and different areas that they had. Even at the beginning where the men were, I think it was the men, it might have been the women, but maybe it was the women, where they were meeting and they had like the Andre the Giant Ric Flair statue. And then you go and there's like a Money in the Bank room. I thought that was kind of cool. It was definitely, like I said, if I was 14, I would think this was really cool. I understand. I think maybe they thought that too. Like, maybe, this isn't going to be for our older audience. And I think that's why they threw in those cameos.
Yeah, I want to talk about that. I think there was too much ha-ha in that match for me. I can understand Vince being there. That's the one person I would have thought would be there. But when I see Bruce Pritchard coming out of the stall in full gimmick, although it was funny, it really did make any sense. And then Doink pops up, and I actually think I heard that was Bruce's son, but I could be wrong on that.
Oh, really? Yeah, because I was looking I'm like, this guy does not look anything like Doink the Clown. Like, even the wig wasn't like the Doink wig. And I'm like, doesn't WWE have access to all that? Like, I'm sure they have a costume somewhere.
Paul Heyman being in catering, like measuring up food, that was kind of weird. And John Laurinaitis driving around on a scooter, just
well, here's the thing. I listen. That a lot of people don't understand why he was on a scooter.
Well, he did that. Isn't that the people power thing?
Yeah, that's a people power scooter.
Yeah, no, I got it. Like, but he's just gonna be cruising the office and his people power scooter.
Oh yeah, I mean,
anyway,
Boogeyman.
Well, that would have made, because he tends to pop up, and that would, maybe they couldn't get him. Who knows? Maybe he couldn't travel or something.
I mean,
If they asked, who knows?
yeah. So that was kind of weird. I wouldn't say that's a pro to have
No,
all
no,
of
no.
some.
I was putting that in the cons. Sorry.
I figured that, but some of them. I mean, the thought was there, but it's just I really think like the execution, especially in a match that I don't know, it was such a weird match. So
Oh, so we're still talking on pros.
because I was about to move on, so do you have any
Okay.
more?
I'll go the pros. I would say Oscar winning is a pro.
Yeah,
To be honest, she's been over since day one in that company.
yeah.
She's always had a mystique with her. She should always be at or near the top in that company. And she's always featured well. I can't say that she's not.
And she's reinvented her character, like, but without going too far away from who she was when she first came out. But when she first came in NXT, she was more of the ass kicker, and now she's kind of more of a little zany, but you still see her as a threat.
And I have no issues with Otis winning either. And I'll tell you why. Because that guy's probably been one of the most entertaining people on that show, bar none. I'm not thinking he's going to be cashing in to win the title, but him with the case will probably be entertaining. And you know what? Before the pandemic, he was getting over pretty big with the crowd. And he's a guy I could see if you could probably go different ways with him. He's got a lot of personality, clearly. I could see middle-aged guys dancing in the crowd when he does, and little kids and different things.
Only you.
I'm not middle-aged yet, but
but you'll be dancing in the crowd. It was just like me at WrestleMania 28 with a sea of kids and me cheering on John Cena.
I got to put some video up from that event. I do have some. Now that you remind me, that will go up at some point. Otis, he is a good character. He's one of the new characters that you could actually do something with. And even if you get him out of the comedy part of it, that guy's a legit wrestler. He's got a legit background. So if you keep the personality out, you could do a lot with him. Now, let's find out what he is.
You know what? I don't see him turning in the briefcase for the Universal or World Championship. I don't even see him turning in the briefcase for any tag team championship. I see him turning in the briefcase for the SmackDown Women's Championship because I think he is going to give it to Mandy Rose, or that she is going to trick him into give him that briefcase and turn heel.
Wow. You think Mandy's that nefarious, eh?
Oh, yeah. So let's move on to the cons of the Money in the Bank main event match.
Yes.
So hit me.
Well, touched on the ha-ha already. There's too much comedy in that for me, for what I like.
Now, I got a question. Do you think it should have been the main event since there was so much ha-ha?
Well, they're in a tough spot because they got no crowd, right? So do you do the cinematic match and then put an in-ring match after? I think in this instance it would have to go last because you want something that's going to be high social media scores. That would be my guess. I think it had to go on last. I'm not saying it was the best match on the show, but I would say that's going to be the most talked about match on the show. So you want it going on last.
With me, the problem I know I constantly rag on it. But with me, the problem with cinematic wrestling is while you're watching a wrestling show and you're seeing all these matches, and then you cut to something that is cinematic, and then you cut back to wrestling, it really takes you out because the thing with wrestling is it's best enjoyed in the moment. It's one of those things that, like a sport, it's best enjoyed in the moment. And when you take someone out of that moment, especially when there's like, it looks like a movie or it's like wacky or it's just like kind of out of this world, and then you go and say, okay, yeah, wink wink, hey, by the way, here we go back. It's kind of like in 2000 with like WCW and WWE, where they, especially WCW when Vince Russo was writing, where they would be like, oh, this is not part of the script, well then what I was watching before was part of the script. You're telling me it's scripted, and then that just blows wrestling right out of the water because it's like, hey, everyone, like, hate that. See, I know, like, that was popular in the early 2000s and that, but it was one of the the black eyes
That
of
was stupid.
this at that, just it
was stupid on every show. On any show that's done that, it's stupid. Like if you're gonna watch a show, like nobody, like you said last time, unless you're watching Deadpool, nobody on a movie is gonna be like, it's a movie.
yeah.
I hate that. I hate that.
Imagine watching an action movie and you're in the final scene, and then the guy's like, okay, cut, or like he stops it and it pulls back and you see like all the rigs and everything like that, and what the hell is this? And then they jump right back into the movie acting like, oh yeah, he's going to kill me or what. No one buys it, and that's my problem with cinematic wrestling. You know what? I bet you every week I'm going to go on a tirade about this because I am so not a fan of it, and
Yep.
I just can't. Oh, but yeah. Anyway, let's get back to Money in the Bank, the cons. I got off track. That's easy to do, and you do it on purpose. I know you do it, but let's get back to Money in the Bank, the cons. I'll start. One of my cons of. Actually, one pro that I forgot was it kind of looked cool, the ring on the top of the building when they did the aerial view and all that. It reminded me of the Raw is War opening from back in the day where they're fighting and the ring's on fire. You know what else this reminded me of, actually? The whole Money in the Bank concept, the match and everything. Remember the Super Bowl commercial where it was they were fighting in Titan? You don't remember this? Yeah, that's exactly what this was. So if anyone that loves that commercial, and then they shit on this match, I mean, I know there's a lot of similarities there, but it's like someone watched that as a kid and they're like, yes, this is what wrestling should be, and then they became like a writer or something for WWE and they pitched it and it got.
All right, I want to hit a couple cons here.
Yeah, you have to. You gotta keep me in line here. I'm going all over.
All right, so Baron Corbin, and I don't hate on Corbin like a lot of the internet does. This is not his fault. But that thing at the beginning where he threw the weight through the mirror, it was so bad where he's looking upset that he broke the mirror. What does he think? Vince is standing behind it? Like, come on. Like,
he's a heel. Why does he care?
Right. Why would he?
Like, he's supposed to be like a king. Like, why would he care about making that? Like, that's a face spot. Because then the face is distracted and then you get to get your heat on the face, right? But I don't understand why it was so out of place too, because it went on for a while. Like when you first watch it, it felt like it was an infinity. Well, he was standing at that thing with a stupid, dumbfounded look on his face.
Yeah, what does he think? Like broken mirrors can have bad luck? Like the leprechaun's gonna come out or something? Like, come on. Like, this is dumb.
Win the match, I guess so.
The spot where Otis puts the weight on AJ.
Oh, no, that was the worst spot of the whole thing.
See,
I don't care what anyone says.
How they could have not shot that where it would have looked like it was stuck on him is mind-boggling to me. Like that was the worst shot they could have done.
Why didn't they do it overhead? I mean, you're going in that realm. You could do the camera cut, and the next cut is right directly over AJ with it stuck on him and him struggling. But you could clearly see he can slide right out.
Yeah.
It wasn't even down, it's touching his chest.
I think one of the worst things in that whole match was Dana Brooke grabbing that briefcase in the boardroom.
That just looks stupid.
She must have heat in that company because they made her look so stupid. Like, she literally, that did her no favors. Like, how... Like, really, it's like you're gonna grab this. They've been advertising the rules every week. It's at the top of the building, so you're gonna grab that briefcase in the boardroom, and then Stephanie just shows up and makes her sound even more stupid or look even more dumb. I don't know.
In my opinion, that should have been a spot for Asuka if they were going to do that spot, because then they can say, well, she doesn't really understand because it's in English. She doesn't understand the concept. It wasn't properly explained to her.
You could have done it with Otis.
Or Otis, yeah, I guess.
Right, but it's not even a good spot anyway.
No,
it's dumb.
I thought they were finally giving her a push. I thought they were actually pushing. She's athletic. I know she's not the greatest worker or whatever, but that doesn't matter. It's WWE. You don't have to be a good worker to be at the top there.
I want to circle back on her when we're closing this because I just want to get into some fan comments and stuff after.
All
Just
right.
rude. So the food fight was ridiculous. So
Of course, WWE has to have a food fight because they always do.
well, here's the thing. Wouldn't have had a problem with them trashing a room with food in it. But why is it that the male and female wrestlers happen to come in the room at the same time, meet up each other, and just start throwing food?
I don't.
It made no sense. And then Otis in the catering, he's just gonna grab snacks and start eating. Like, like what? I don't know. I don't know. And then Johnny Ace shows up, whatever. I will say I did find the Vince thing funny. It wasn't necessary, but you couldn't have that thing in the Titan Towers without Vince.
No, I thought them walking out of the room was kind of stupid. Where
Yeah.
they fight in and then they walk out of the room. Like, oh boy, you look stupid. Oh, like okay,
Yeah,
like
you just embarrassed yourself in front of Julius Caesar. Like, come on. Now, one thing with that match, I wish they didn't have so many cut shots on, because if they would have filmed it like it's an actual race to the top without these distractions, I would have got behind it a lot more. It's just like, we're gonna cut this shot here, get this close up. It just doesn't make sense to me. Oh, and before I forget, the AJ Undertaker thing.
yeah, I didn't dig that either. I thought him looking at the picture was cool. I was fine there, but I didn't. Him walking into the room with the whole get up and everything, I was like, oh, okay.
See, if the flashback thing, there's ways around this stuff. If you would have said this match is previously recorded this afternoon or something like that, and then you do it, then it's okay, because you can edit. Obviously, there's editing, right? But to me, if you're presenting this as this is how they're getting to the top, and then you have a flashback in there, it's I don't know. I don't have a problem with him being scared looking at the picture. Although it brings up another point. Nothing has really changed with AJ since he got buried, but that's a whole other conversation.
Yeah. So, what did you think of the spot where Baron Corbin threw not only Rey Mysterio but Aleister Black off the edge?
See, I thought when it happened, I thought I heard a splash or something.
Thank you. So here's here's the thing. Okay, there was a noise. Now I have to probably go back and watch it, but from what I gather was he threw them off. And the timing of when they went over that edge and fell was not, it didn't sound like a big fall, like they fell off the building. And if they fell off the building, you wouldn't have heard a noise. So everyone saying, oh, are they dead? Or they kill Rey Mysterio? Yeah. Like, I never thought that once in my mind until I went on Twitter or whatever, and it was like, oh, Rey's dead. I'm thinking, no, he's not. Like, if any person that took grade 9 physics or science or anything could know that when you drop something and you hear that, maybe I'm thinking too much of it because it's professional wrestling, but I mean, I give WWE a pass on that. It's not like he got buried and came back, a month later.
Someone screenshotted crane footage top of the building, and in the crane footage, WWE left the crash mat there.
Yeah, I've seen that.
Right? So another, it's stuff like that. I can't believe that WWE misses, because their production forever has been so top notch. So
I think now this is armchair quarterback, but I think they're slipping because I think Kevin Dunn's getting older. And you know what WWE really needs? They need a really good 1 or 2 people. They need to hire them, and all they are is quality control, so that they read over everything and they're like, no, this can't happen because this happened, or this isn't the first time Undertaker and Triple H are fighting at WrestleMania. This happened like 5 years ago. Like, they need people to stay on a track so that there is a sense of this happened before, or this is how it is.
Well, I mean, if they want to reach out to us, they can email us at 3fallspodcast@gmail.com. We can do this job.
If anyone wants to reach out at us, they could email us at that address, and we'll gladly read comments on the air. So overall, I want to get your overall thought, if you had to put it in 1 or 2 sentences, of what you thought about just the main event of the Money in the Bank.
It was okay for what it was. That's just not my thing.
I agree. I'm not going to sit here and shit on it, because I recall back in the day, I loved those hardcore matches where they would go anywhere and everywhere. So like I said, if I was 14, I would have totally loved this match.
My thing is with that, and much like when we were talking about the street fight last week, there's got to be some kind of logic to it. So if you're trying to get to the top of the building, you're trying to get to the top of the building. It's not let's go not at Bruce while he just got done dropping a deuce. you get to the top of the building.
Well, and that's why I think they should have added a stipulation where you had to get like maybe pinfall before you could advance to the next floor. Or it would have been nice to or have something where it was like, instead of actually like maybe a Money in the Bank, if they had something like that where it's like the first floor you gotta get a pinfall, second floor you gotta get a submission, third floor you gotta get like, something, and then it comes down to two people at the top and they have like a mat to finish it off and tie a bow.
Could have, if they had time limit per floor or something like that, you get eliminated, whatever, just something.
Yeah, like if you get pinfall, that would have been good. If you get pinfall, you get to advance to the next floor, right? But there's also a time limit on that floor, so say after like 5 minutes, everyone gets to go to that next floor.
I think too, in wrestling in general, a lot of it is just lack of explanation on things. It's just, if you just lay the rules out, what the actual rules are, even in regular matches, it changes the whole thing, and they actually get enforced. But because there's lack of explanation in pretty much every match, even as something as dumb as like tag matches with how they tag, if you don't explain things, no one cares, and it's confusing.
Or if you disregard, like if you don't care about an official, and then the official tries to put their foot down, then how is anyone going to take that official seriously?
Right.
That's why you gotta respect the rules. You gotta respect. That's why I think they should explain, like, what comes with the title. Why do you want to hold that title? It's for bragging, right? You get more money. You get more, like, maybe you get first class flights. You know what I mean? Like, you gotta show people why. You gotta explain to people why that everyone wants to be a champion. And same with the rules and everything. You gotta explain to them, remind them constantly. It doesn't have to be shoved down their throat, but a gentle reminder. That there was a tag, but he wasn't holding the tag rope, so it doesn't count. Or you gotta explain, like, this guy ran into this match and he hit so and so with a chair. He's going to get fined. So that why doesn't everyone else just run in and hit people with chairs then? If they don't, there's no repercussions.
It's like if you have superpowers, why can't you use them in the ring?
But see, that's what made Stone Cold so great, because back then there was more respect for rules and there was a guideline, and he was the guy that just broke everything and he didn't care. So he was a total badass and rule breaker, and everyone was like, oh my god, like he doesn't care about the this or that. He didn't care about the law, so he's an outlaw.
And that's why when we brought him up before, Brock Lesnar, you see him, whenever you see him, it's on. He's not screwing around in the ring. He's just trying to kill you.
Yeah, and that's why I like Brock Lesnar. Everyone shits on him not being on Raw every week or whatever. He doesn't have to be on Raw because he's special. When you see, and it gets him heat too for him not being there all the time. That's why I love it.
That's exactly what it is.
He can get away with this stuff.
And that's kind of where I was going to go with the fans. I was reading their comments on this match, right? There was actually a contingent of fans mad that Dana Brooke did not win that match.
Really?
Yes. And it's like, she worked so hard and all that. And I'm like, that's true, but you're just going off her promo against Ronda Rousey.
Yeah.
And it's like, there's a contingent of fans that just, I don't know. I think it's good. I think it's good if fans are clamoring towards certain people.
Yeah.
But man, wrestling Twitter is just like a minefield some days. You go on there and it's like, holy smokes, like what are these people talking about?
Matt, I need you to be quiet for a second because I want to explain something. I want to talk to somebody. I don't want to talk to you. Okay, so shut up. I want to talk to all those fans out there that were clamoring, oh, she worked so hard. Why couldn't they give her the bone? Why couldn't they give her a piece? Why couldn't she win? Yeah. Well, life's not fair. Just because you work hard doesn't mean you get everything that you have coming. You really gotta go out and take it. And it's just, not everything happens. You could work so hard for something and you don't get it. That's life. It doesn't mean you shouldn't work hard for it. It just means maybe you should try something else. If you really want it, you'll adapt to it. You'll change. You'll figure a way. And that's just how life is. I hate this whole thing where everyone's fair and everyone should be good and haha, good for you and all that. I hate that, especially wrestling. I hate that wrestling has become that, because that is a worst possible fucking thing in the world. That, oh, just because this person's nice, outside of the ring, give them the title. No, this guy's terrible. Like, let this guy, if he really wants it, he will go out and take it. Case in point, like a guy like MJF, like, he doesn't care how many t-shirts he's selling. He's being a heel character, and if he sells t-shirts by proxy and makes money by proxy, then so be it. He's the same guy that you went and bought an autograph photo from him. He throws it at you. He throws it on the ground. He sticks up the middle finger if you get a picture with him. I'm not saying everyone should be like MJF, but I'm just saying, like, he is a guy that, you know what, he's going to be a world champion. He's a guy that he's going to get over because he's being, he's being real. He's actually being real. Unlike all these other people that, they create a persona on Twitter where that they're real and they're a good person and everything like that. Real people, I see through that. Like, okay, yeah, you're getting all these fans and all that on Twitter but you know what? That does nothing for you in a professional wrestling ring.
It's got to translate to TV and the audience. So when you come out, they're waiting to see you. They want to see you. Just saying something positive on Twitter doesn't mean you're going to be over and be the champion in the WWE. It's not going to happen.
Exactly. It's, as much as it's great to have people behind you, wrestling isn't exactly a popularity contest. It's good to have fans behind you and fans going for you. But at the end of the day, they're going to push who they think they can make the most money off of. And if you don't believe me, look at what happened with Zack Ryder in 2011, where he had a huge momentum of fans. They pushed him a little bit, but he just couldn't, he didn't get over. And if he was really meant to get over and those fans were really behind him, they were really behind him, then the moment that he fell in that terrible storyline with E. Torres, they would have stayed with him and brought him back up afterwards and kept him, cheering for him, buying his merch and everything. But that did not happen. And that's not a thing on Zack Ryder, because I'm actually a Zack Ryder fan. I like Zack Ryder. I'm just saying that goes to show you that, it's fun to be popular on social media and be, connect with the fans and haha and all that. But unless you're really meaning it and you really show it, it's very hard to translate into the wrestling world. Becky Lynch did it. She's the only, she did it. She's the exception to the rule, though, Anyway, you got me off topic again.
But just to finish that thing with Ryder, Mick Foley said it the best. He asked him to his face what happened, and Ryder said he didn't know. And Mick said, you have to push for more. You can't just stop there, right? So
did I not just say that? I just said that. Like, I said that when you gotta want it. You just can't let, a group of fans be behind you and be like, oh yeah, those are my people. You gotta keep pushing. You gotta keep trying. You gotta keep reinventing yourself. You don't really. She didn't want that. You know what Dana Brooke should have did? She should have went on Twitter to those fans and been like, I didn't get it this time, but I'm going to work harder. I'm going to show everyone that I'm going to get it next time. We'll keep watching.
So just to put a bow on that, I'm just gonna Triple H back in late 90s, mid 90s. Was there anything really special about him? I don't think so. He had the talent to get to the top, but he knew how to stay up there. That's the big difference that a lot of people don't have. It's staying over, it's being involved in your creative and being as involved as you can. Now he's a little more political than other people, but that is a part of it too.
But he had the drive, and you can't away from him.
He was going to do anything he could to stay there.
And I really feel, who I think, and I'm not shitting on him because I actually like him, but I think Roman Reigns does not have the drive. And this is not anything to do with him not being there because of COVID and that. This is nothing to do with that because, that's whatever. I don't even want to touch on that because whether it's a story or not, we'll wait and see how it develops. But I don't think he's really, there's not, and it's not just Roman. There's a lot of guys that aren't like that nowadays. And I think that's what lack of star power is. There's not a lot of guys that just they want it. They want to be at the top. They'll do whatever they want to be at the top.
I mean, again, you got to be involved in who you are on the show. You have to push for more, and that doesn't mean it's going to happen. But to me, it comes back to what you said: drive. And just one more thing on that: Becky Lynch and Asuka, and that whole handing over the title thing. This is where wrestling lacks some creativity. CM Punk said it the best. His statement was, if she's handing over the title, he's like, the best. He goes, I think they missed an opportunity. Asuka should have took the title and misted her in the face, and then
Oh
Becky's
yeah,
gone.
yeah, that would have been good.
Right?
But
And he
if
goes,
they want to keep Asuka face or they want to turn her face, that wouldn't be the
that's
best
what
thing to do.
I think. It's just because but it's stuff like that that makes sense. Now people were getting on him about, oh, you can't do that with COVID, and I'm like, you could have easily done it in a backstage segment where you manipulated that. But I digress.
Even did that in front of the camera the way that. Well, I guess Raw was probably live, maybe, but could have taped it earlier.
You could have taped that part.
Yeah, they could have found ways to do it, but yeah. So
but at the end of the day, Dana Brooke is not the champion.
Yeah, I'm tired talking about Dana Brooke. Let's move on. So my next, is there anything else that you want to talk about or touch on that happened in the body of the Money in the Bank show? Any of the other matches?
I just want to touch on Seth Rollins versus Drew McIntyre. I feel so bad for Drew McIntyre that he's the champion in this era, because they tore it up. They had an excellent match. If that was in front of a crowd, they would have had probably, I know it's early in the year, they would have had probably one of the contenders for match of the year. I'm not a big fan of Seth's current gimmick, but he can really turn it on when he needs to. And Drew, to me, is, you know what? You consider where he was 10 years ago and where he is now. He's one of the best stories in wrestling. It's just too bad that this whole pandemic happened. His moment came, because this guy worked hard for it. It's not a Dana Brooke worked hard. This guy won.
And he's one of the guys, like, that's the drive that I'm talking about too. Like, even Jinder Mahal has, where he reinvented himself and came back, you know, obviously a huge change in his body, but that's working for it. That's trying to reinvent yourself. That's being like, you know what, I was there doing what I was doing was not working, so let me try and figure something out. Let me change, something that how I look, or maybe a way that even Drew McIntyre did that. You know, when I'm not like, he's completely different. He changed his body. He, got in shape.
You gotta figure those guys were in a comedy act before they were let go.
Yeah, and now
they went away. They reinvented themselves. Drew went all over the world. He was working everywhere, and he found what he needed. And I feel bad for him, because man, that moment against Brock would have been big for him in front of a crowd.
Yeah, it's unfortunate. There's nothing outside really. I thought the show itself, it wasn't bad. I thought it was a decent pay-per-view for what it, considering all the COVID and stuff. But unfortunately, there wasn't really anything too eventful that happened besides the main event. Nothing really newsworthy.
No, I mean, the tag match was meh. It wasn't a lot to write home about. Again, some of these matches are pretty hard to do. I mean, they had a lot of just random stuff on that show. The R-Truth thing, although him wanting to beat Tom Brady was kind of funny, but other than that, there's not really much to write home about on that show. I would say the match with Drew and Seth, and obviously the Money in the Bank, are the only two things that are really notable from that show.
So speaking of notable, this is something that I feel was it should be bigger news than it was, and I think a reason why is because it was kind of just dropped in the body of the show. And I want to move over to AEW, and I really want to talk about the fact that at Double or Nothing, in the match between Cody and Lance Archer for the TNT Championship, Mike Tyson is going to be there to present the winner with the TNT Championship. Yep. I really think that's very newsworthy, not only because of what happened years ago with WWF and what he did for them, because he obviously did something for them around WrestleMania 14. He brought a lot of attention. That's not why I think it's newsworthy. The reason why is because last week he was on Instagram and he was boxing and he was turning a lot of heads like, wow, Tyson still got it. Is he going to make a run for the WWF championship? Probably not. But the fact of the matter is that it's Mike Tyson. He is a name. He is a household name. And this is probably AEW's biggest celebrity endorsement in its history up to date. I'm looking forward to it. I have nothing against Iron Mike being a part of it. He is a wrestling fan. We got to watch him go in the Hall of Fame.
I was going to mention that, yeah.
Now, my question to you is that what are your thoughts on this?
Well, I watched the show live last night, and it was just weird. Like it just came out of nowhere. They were just showing like the Double or Nothing matches, and it was just like, oh, and Mike Tyson's presenting the title.
Now,
And
the reason why I think is because I think they taped the show, and that was news that they got him after they were done taping. So they kind of just put it in. I don't blame them. It's not their fault for that. They wanted to break the news.
Yeah, but and again, I hate to do the whole what I would do type thing. But what I would do.
Oh, here we go. What would I do?
You could have easily filmed something with, say, Tony Khan or somebody, just like a 30-second thing. Hey, we got this exciting announcement, breaking news, blah blah blah. Just to give something to it, because it was just like here it is. And I'm sitting there watching. I'm like, what? I was like, Mike Tyson, like that was the most lukewarm. Anyway,
in the day of social media, I don't understand. It's completely acceptable to film something on your phone and put it. They could have put it on Instagram at the same time that they did that, and just said, "Oh, breaking news," and have like Tony Khan, like you said, say, "Look, we just."
Yeah, they could have put that 5 minutes before the show on Twitter or something. Just, hey, here's a video. We're announcing this. Enjoy the show tonight. Something like that. I don't know.
Or drove people to Twitter. Big announcement coming on Twitter right after the show, and then plug it right before they're about to go off air, and then it drives everyone to your Twitter.
I don't understand the promotional stuff with AEW. I wouldn't have been surprised if they had Vanguard 1 announced.
Well, he's that RFP.
Yes, he is. But anyway, Tyson, I think he's supposed to be doing some exhibition boxing matches. So that's why he had the training videos. That's the talk. So the timing of this is pretty good because he went viral last week. I saw the video, and guy's 53 years old. He's gonna knock somebody's head off their shoulders. So, and he's top. So it is good timing to do it.
Really good on AEW's part. Speaking of knocking people's head off their shoulders, did you get to watch Darkside of the Ring this week?
That's a good segue. Yes, I did.
I'm trying to work on my segues. So Darkside of the Ring this week featured the story of the Legion of Doom, the Road Warriors, Hawk and Animal. Personally, my favorite tag team in wrestling as a fan. I thought it was really good. This kind of like some previous episodes, if you're a diehard wrestling fan, it's nothing that you really didn't know about, but entertaining nonetheless. I thought they did a great job. They talked to Hawk's brothers, who I didn't know he had brothers. Great speaking with Joe Laurinaitis, not John. Really good episode. They touched a lot on the drug use, which I see as a recurring theme in this series.
Yes.
But that's what makes it so good, right?
I seen something where that episode, it's either their second or third highest rated show. Really? Yeah, that episode. Road Warriors have a lot of juice, I guess. So a lot of people are interested in it. I liked it. A lot of it was probably stuff you could see on the WWE. What do they call that? The story of the most dominant team or something like that.
Yeah.
I love that DVD. I love that video. Actually, I bought that when it came out, and I probably watched it. I don't know how many times.
Same here.
It's a lot of the same stories. There was a couple of errors in the show that aired last night. The one that was the big one was the Legion of Doom name, and I don't even know how they put this in the show. But they said on the show that it came from He-Man, but that's not true. It came from the Super Friends cartoon.
Yeah, even I knew that.
Yeah. Well, it's funny. I glossed over it when I was watching it because I was watching it on my phone because I was doing something else. But I heard He-Man. I'm like, He-Man.
You were on the John. We know. You were on the
No. I wasn't doing a brother love. Anyway, that was one of the things. And I guess Animal he's got an interview coming out about how, I think there was a comment about Animal quitting the team or something like that, but he's indicated that wasn't the case. It was Hawk that quit the team. So I think there's going to be a couple of retractions that come out of this from Animal. But all in all, I mean, I think they nailed the story of the Road Warriors pretty good in that. couple stories that were neat were, it's Paul Ellering, great speaker. He's awesome to listen to. That story about him driving that old van down to Hawk's funeral,
Yes.
that was, and
Is it cool?
very dark.
Oh, sorry. One of my favorite parts there, I had two highlights of that show. One I'll get into in a minute. But the one highlight while we're talking about Paul Ellering was apparently he spoke at Hawk's funeral. I don't know whether he gave the eulogy or not, but he spoke at Hawk's funeral and he actually got to say some of the stuff, because obviously he knew what he was said, and he kind of said it, and they kind of did like almost a nice piece of where he was talking, and it showed clips of Hawk or whatever. I thought that was really nice. It was you kind of got a glimpse, or it felt like you were there, like at his funeral,
right?
And I thought that was very nice. I'll let you continue. You're talking about Barry Darsow before I.
So it's good that they had like him and Scott Norton on that show, because those are guys that grew up around Hawk and Animal. They knew those guys before wrestling from the Minnesota area. When I met Barry Darsow, I met him. The first DVD had just come out not long before, and I had asked, and I brought it up to him, and I said I really enjoyed that DVD because I thought he was really good on that. And I remember he said to me, he goes, I really wasn't sure about the project, and he goes, but I was really satisfied when it came out. He goes, I think that really told the story. So I imagine this one's got to be about the same. Anyway, Barry Darsow, super cool guy. If you ever get a chance to meet him.
So another interesting point about that show that I thought was when they talked about Hawk, and before he went on one of his like binges, was at SummerSlam 1992 at Wembley Stadium, and he was apparently, I don't know what he was on, some kind of drug, and he was high during that match. And they actually show clips, and I mean, I've never noticed it, but yeah, you could tell he was maybe kind of a little out there tonight, or not tonight.
Well,
that night.
It's funny because I remember on the first DVD, the Animal kind of alluded to something not being right, but I never clued in why the match ended in a power slam until they showed that match, or showed that last night. So that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah. Any final thoughts on that?
No, I think they hit it pretty good. I mean, they did touch on a lot of the bar fighting stories and stuff, which I thought were pretty good. You brought up Hawk's brothers. That was a really good touch because it's funny, I never really seen anything with any family of Hawk before. So I thought that was a pretty good touch. I mean, you feel for Animal, really, because it looks like I don't think he's ever gotten over that. He just we know those guys were tight, right? So that's I guess that's why it's the dark side of the ring.
Yeah, it was more of on Hawk more than the actual Legion of Doom Road Warriors, I believe, because they didn't go anywhere near 2005 when Road Warrior Animal was teaming with Heidenreich, and they came out they were the Legion of Doom. They mentioned the Power Warrior in 1992, but they didn't mention that pair, which I'm fine with.
They didn't really spotlight Rocco either. So.
Oh, thank God. I know that might have been a disappointment for you. So next week, it's going to be a hard one for me and a lot of other people. It's the season finale, and it's on Owen Hart, the passing of Owen Hart. I think that is going to be a very tough one. I think, to me, that and the Chris Benoit one were the two main stories this season, and in fact, in the entire series so far. I think this one's going to be really hard. I find it very intriguing because I know they did film an interview with Martha Hart.
Yep.
And I think even Owen's son and daughter, Oj,
yep.
and Athena.
Oj and Athena.
Yeah, so that's, we'll be talking about that next week. So that's going to be something.
That one will be tough. I can tell you, with the exception of last night, I've watched all the episodes at least twice. Except Benoit, because that one was very rough, and I think this one's going to be along the same lines. And just two things on that before we finish that. May would be the anniversary of Owen's death, right? Would it not?
Yeah.
May
23rd, I believe it is.
Right, so that's going to coincide.
That's be like right on almost.
Yeah, I was thinking about that the other day. I'm like, died in May. I remember that. And
That's great. Like the same week.
the other thing, and I heard this recently on a post wrestling interview with Jeff Merrick, and I never thought of this before, but he talked about Owen, and he said he never could understand, and I imagine they get one of this on the show. I really don't know, but how they were able to continue the pay-per-view, because technically, if somebody dies, that would be a crime scene.
That is very interesting.
And I never thought of that before, and I don't know. So I'm curious if they'll get into that next week, because I'm assuming that had to have come up in court and depositions and
yeah, indeed.
all of that. I'm curious on what they're going to go over on that show, because Brett is not on the show. That's confirmed. So it's
I don't think he needs to be on it. I don't think Brett needs to be on it.
No, they had asked him to be on it. I think he's not happy with the Montreal episode, so he never got back to them.
Brett, grumpy about something?
Wow. If you're
guys my hero, but
well, if your story was turned into Russo versus Cornette, I don't think you'd be too thrilled either. But
all right. Well,
I would like to go back on those old episodes when this season's done, because I think that would good.
Yeah, maybe we'll continue after and we'll talk. We'll review.
Yep.
We'll go season 1 in that. Another documentary that was making news this week was The Last Dance. Now, did you get a chance to see The Last Dance?
I have not.
You didn't catch it. I was talking. The Last Dance is the Bulls documentary.
Oh.
The Last Ride is a documentary on The Undertaker that aired at
I haven't
Money in the Bank.
I haven't seen that either.
Well, it's very good. Obviously, I'm going to tell you I don't want to review this like we have been with the Dark Side of the Ring, because unless something really newsworthy happens. Because I really feel like everything that happened, people would more or less know about. With this documentary, the main takeaways is seeing The Undertaker out of character for the first time since the Steve Austin podcast, but seeing him talk openly about it and openly about certain things that were going on. Like, a camera crew did follow him around, so you get to see like how gingerly he kind of moves and how he's in pain, and just like it's like amazing how he goes from walking, it's almost like Mick Foley in a way, where he kind of like limps and that, to going into the ring and pulling whatever he pulls off. And I think that's mainly the takeaway of the documentary. What they're trying to focus on is how he's able to still do this. It's kind of amazing. So that's the newsworthy part about that, is that, and just seeing the footage, all the footage that they shot behind the scenes, and seeing the guts of The Undertaker.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know how many. There's a lot of parts to this series, from what I understand.
Yeah, there's like 6 or 7, I think.
Yeah, so I think it's gonna be interesting as it goes along. I mean, if you really look at Undertaker, his body of work, I mean, if you're talking WWE, he's the greatest character that's ever been in the company, for sure.
Yeah.
And I mean, you could make the argument in the WWE is he'd be up there in that greatest of all time category, I think.
I agree. Like I said, there's not too much to talk about this. I just wanted to bring it up. In the oncoming weeks, if I feel that there is something very interesting to talk about, we will talk about it. However, I'm looking forward to the next episode. It was shot really good. It was edited really well. Similar to the Edge documentary, where they did a phenomenal job on. I don't think it's as good, because like the Edge documentary was really damn good. But like I said, I would say it's one of the best. Take our character. So next, we got a couple of just small things I want to touch upon. Did you see the opening video for Impact this week featuring Moose?
Yes, I did.
So if you haven't seen it, it's available on YouTube. Basically, they start the show like they usually start, with whatever opening thing they did, and then Moose interrupts the whatever they were doing, and he has Barry Scott, who is the deep Impact voice guy, do like a thing, a reading on how great Moose is and everything like that. Matt, I loved it. I'm fair weather on Moose when it comes to him as a wrestler. I really think that he's improving. But this opening video, this was perfect. This is what he should be doing, a heel character, in my opinion. I thought this was fantastic. It was over the top. The only thing I didn't like about it was they had all these wrestlers from other companies in talking, and I would have maybe have been fine with one or two, but they kind of went through the gamut of everyone that was a name that worked at TNA over the years, and they just comments out of their contents, which was fine. But it kind of was like, it kind of brought up like, oh, that guy's great. He was in TNA and he's not there. Yeah. It was almost turned into a sort of spot. But if you don't look at it like that, I thought this was great for a heel character. Did you get to see it?
Yeah. I would share most of the same sentiments you have on that video. The only thing I mean I can live with it was how he interrupts the voiceover. Moose is a big enough bad guy on the show that he could have just barged into like the sound booth or something. I do love the idea that he's going to actually have the voiceover talking about how great he is and he's the greatest thing of all time. I like the former stars because it's pretty funny because obviously they're all majority are in the WWE, so they have higher visibility than they maybe would have at the time, except for like Sting and those guys. But new generation fans or fans in the last 5 years are going to be like, hey, wait a second, Bobby Roode was there. So that it does bring awareness to the show, right? So. And it's basically putting Moose over as the biggest jerk of all time. I agree with you. Moose is, if I can remember, I don't know when it was. I remember doing camera for a Moose match, and he was pretty green at the time. That had to have been 6-7 years ago.
I bet you it was a BCW versus New Japan Pro Wrestling.
I think it was. It was like a dark match.
Yeah.
Yeah. I remember being on camera and filming Moose, and he was pretty green at the time. And you could kind of see some personality there, but I mean, he's changed a lot.
He was as green as Moose shit.
He's got a lot more character to him now. Like he's got the robes, he's the gear. He stands out a lot more. Like I think the last time we saw him live at Impact, I think we were talking about that, like the entrance. It's more like that. He's got more of the showy side now,
and he should be that. He should be like
the
big star, like the big sports star. And I would even go as far as like once all this COVID thing is. We're kind of back to normal where we can have multiple people in a room. I would give him an entourage to bump off of and give him, some heaters and that, or just even people follow him to the ring. One holds the title or something, but or give him like a spokesperson, like a Don King or something like that.
Oh, so he should have like the Floyd Mayweather gimmick or something.
You know what? Actually, I just thought about it, and I'm going to get a lot of heat from a lot of people for saying this, but I would give him Lio Rush as a manager.
Yeah, that'd be.
I think that would be money.
I don't know why you'd have heat. I mean, Lio Rush. I mean, I wish they would have kept him in that role in WWE.
Imagine him as Moose's mouthpiece, especially if Lio Rush does like what he was doing in WWE, but he kind of gives Moose the complex of a Kanye West, where Moose thinks like on the level of a Kanye West, where he's just going all, just interrupting people and. I would love it.
Lio Rush is walking heat, so you're right. That would be, yeah.
I think that would be good, and that would probably be your top act in like less than 6 months. That would be your top act. I guarantee it.
Yeah, I agree. There's a spot for.
Speaking of, I don't want to put him in this. He's worked everywhere, not just Impact. But I do want to touch upon. I don't want to go into detail because the details are kind of graphic. But Alberto Del Rio got arrested this past week for sexual assault. I'm not saying he hasn't. I don't want to talk about that because that's a whole big can of worms. That's whatever.
Just reporting the facts.
Exactly. But I do have a question for you.
Mm-hmm.
This is why I want to talk about that. Do you think that this is the end for Alberto Del Rio on a major scale?
If he's convicted of anything, for sure. He's done in North America. He's done in the States. But I mean, he's had a ton of incidents police reports, things in the last several years, whether they're factual or whatever, it doesn't really matter because he's got a reputation having some legal problems, law enforcement problems, things like that. I mean, those things are very frustrating because when I think of Del Rio, especially when he came to WWE the first time, limitless potential, limitless. That guy he's a 5-tool player, and it's the worst thing when you see people that have talent and don't utilize it, potential, and waste it. And I'm not saying he's wasted it. He's got himself in some predicaments that may not go well for him in the long run. Now, that being said, these are alleged incidences, these latest ones. So no, we can only report on what's there. I would say if proceedings go forward and he is convicted of anything, I think that would ultimately put I don't want to say a final nail, but one of the final nails in his career in the United States.
And that's very unfortunate because, like you said, he is somebody that he has the looks, the charisma, the natural charisma, mind you. Nothing forced. And it's very unfortunate that these demons are getting the better of him. And it's also unfortunate that I could probably see this possibly being maybe down the road an episode of Darkside of the Ring, just on the career, the rise and fall of Alberto Del Rio. One more thing I just want to get to, and this is more of a thought. What are your thoughts? NXT's next takeover event, In Your House. It's titled In Your House.
I love it. I popped big time when I saw that. I love it. I love that name. In Your House is so many good memories. I don't think it's on the network, so I was going to say if it'd be cost affordable like the old In Your Houses, I guess it kind of is.
It's about the same.
Well, I think the old In Your Houses are like $20-something. So network's $9.99. 12 something here. But I like the idea. And just a comment on NXT because I was watching it last week. I'm gonna catch up on this week's because everyone always compares NXT and AEW, and I just want to say one thing that while AEW does have that ambiance in their crowd, NXT has one thing that AEW doesn't have, and if they had it, they would definitely be blowing everything away. That's Mauro Ranallo. His excitement, even with no crowd, makes that show worth watching. He's, in my opinion, he's definitely the most excitable announcer. So I can't wait to hear him even say In Your House because he's a big wrestling fan. So I'm curious on how excitable he's going to be for that. And I think it's awesome. Like that is the greatest name. I love when they bring back the retro names.
For sure. And speaking of going from NXT In Your House to I gotta get in my house because I got crying kids I gotta take care of. That is the show for this week. Be sure to follow us on Facebook, which is @3FallsPod, or on Twitter, which is @3FallsPodcast. We are looking to possibly include you, the listener, in future episodes to ask your opinion on a news item or something about wrestling. So be sure to, hey, give us your attention so that we could hook you up. And with that being said, Matt, any last words? Why don't you give us a wrestling slogan to go out to or a catchphrase?
Arriba.
See you next week.